All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence. Today, I've got the one, the only Bob from at Bob's Lessons. Bob, what the hell is going on, dude?
What's up, bro? Dude, every time I come on your show, it's more professional. You got your logo in the top corner. Our names are here. You got a nice microphone, looking good. You got nice traps going on. Everything looks good in your life.
You're too kind, dude. You're too kind. So everyone, I'm posting the link, and then I'll let Bob
right.
post it. Come, I'll tag you. See, guys, as I say this every show, God, since I got booted off Twitter, I got to do it this fucking crazy way with links and everything. But anyway, so I just tagged you in it, Bob. So if it'll,
I got it right now.
And yeah,
wait, hold on a second. Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Let me think.
I can't multitask, so I'll let you do that before I. Oh, we already got. Thank you, Awoken Patriot. And if you want to pull up YouTube, Bob, you can see the comments.
See the chat.
Yeah.
All right, let me do that too.
So guys, I've been trying to get Bob to do a live stream. I tell him, dude, you would have so many people here. So I essentially tricked him. I never told him that the chat was going to be up. So now he was forced to do it. So that works out perfect. It's a win-win.
That's great, man, dude. Yeah, so maybe not. I don't know. I think sometimes I give myself a little bit too much credit, but I like the video. It's just for me, it's an extra. I'm very ADD, so I hate using ADD. It's just my mind goes a million places at one time. So like the less toys I have, I feel like the better I function. Like if I have video, then I have to worry about video, audio, staring at the screen, the other.
You're a perfectionist. That's why you're good at music. All these. See me, I just slop it together, dude. I slop it together.
No, you don't.
With it.
No, one of the things I liked about your show from the get-go is the meticulous notes. Like I learned more in a 30-minute episode of your show than I did, 4 episodes of No Mercy. Dick jokes.
Thanks, dude. It's different style, dude. You guys have the I always tell you that camaraderie, but regardless. So how is everything going, dude? How's life? I haven't talked to you in a while, so I'm glad
good, man. I've been slinging these Spaces Fake and Gay shirts.
Yes.
You got yours on the way, and they're $25 shipped. That has been my theme since the beginning, Spaces Fake and Gay. One of my favorite episodes you did was about the moon hoax, and so we talk about that all the time. But realistically, what it means is don't believe what you hear, like space is fake and gay. The whole world around you is completely upside down from what you were taught. So that's kind of the mantra. But
dude, I love the shirt. That was brilliant. Yeah. Did you say that? Because I remember when I started listening, I heard you started were you saying that from the beginning, dude? Because that was a perfect, what is it called? Tagline?
Tagline. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Cause I mean, like gay, here's the other thing. The reason why I love the word gay is it's such a trigger word, right? Like that word itself has so many meanings, but so many people get offended by it. So, when you put that word out there, you're flipping it on its side, and I hate to use the Trump because I don't really want to bring him up, but when he used fake news, because that was an Obama term. And when he turned fake news back on them, that's when I realized that you can actually empower yourself through words, like taking the word deplorable. I talked about this on Janet's podcast. I did her podcast, Deplorable Janet podcast. Taking the word deplorable, which is a negative connotation, and using it to empower yourself. And she even named her podcast Deplorable Janet. So she took that word and changed the nature of it,
dude. And there is so much. I know this is obvious, but so much power behind words. I mean, think that's why they limit the words you can use, and because there is power, there's energy or whatever, even if it's just in your head, there is something behind the word. I think people talk about hell being hello and all spelling, all this stuff. There is so much power in
TV programming.
Exactly, dude.
Yeah. I mean, the word choice is so meticulous. And I think once you become aware of it, you have power over the direction of it. So if I take a term like gay, which historically meant so many different things other than sexual orientation, you take that word and you can do what you want with it. If somebody wants to get offended by that statement, then that's their problem. They're letting that word have power over them.
Ooh.
And that's That's where I got rid of all that victimhood and getting offended by words crap, is because when you get offended and become the victim, whatever, you're the victim of, that entity, word, whatever it is, has power over you. So if you
Mm.
don't allow it to offend you, then words, lose their value.
And you also bring the victim, like when you let a word make you a victim, now you have that victim mentality. Victim
Yeah.
mentality, you're easily just be swayed one way or the other.
Yep.
You'll follow the group because you're a victim. There's power in numbers, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, but I mean, I just don't. I don't think people put enough value in words and symbols, as far as like I think each word is like a stock, and it can be artificially inflated. So like if
Oh, I
you
like
take a
that.
word like racism, which if we look in stock or economic terms, it has a bubble, right? And I
Right.
think like in economic terms, what a bubble means is like, it like what we saw with the housing market crisis is that there was a bubble, right? And
Yes.
then the bubble bursted. And what happened to the housing market? It just fucking sunk. Excuse my
Right.
language.
Okay.
It's so the same thing with words like racism. Like there was a bubble form, and that bubble has popped. When you call everything racist, it devalues it. So
Dude,
that
that's
way, when there's
beautiful.
real racism going on, it's like Boy Who Cried Wolf. Well, you called this racist over here and this racist over here. So I just, that word has no meaning to me anymore.
Dude, that was a beautiful metaphor, Bob. Have you
Thank you.
said that before? Or you just come up with that?
I probably have said that. I probably read that somewhere.
Yeah, that was good, dude. You're right. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. And now like the word racist is completely lost any meaning
It has no
whatsoever.
value. So they
No.
have to change the word, right? So you don't think words have power? Okay, how about this? It was once called global warming, but that word no longer has value. So they had to rebrand it as climate change, right?
Right. Right.
Well, because the climate changes, you can't deny that, right? But they
Yeah,
repackaged it
dude.
once words lose value.
Speaking of what, I saw this, like, I'll pull up but Amazon, they're like, they block words on their, did you see this article?
I did.
I'm gonna pull it up.
It's kind of the same thing about how and I saw you on your Instagram, which I do want to get to, about how how people think Elon Musk is going to be like a savior for free speech on Twitter.
Right.
Like nothing's going to change. Imagine that, blocking the word union and blocking the word pay raise on an employee
Living wage, plantation is banned. Bathroom, I think, is banned. Restrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I just love how they ban these words, because I'm on LinkedIn a lot, and I saw on LinkedIn, like, they ranked the best places to work, and Amazon was #1. And I just found that hilarious. Like, dude, how could
Because they ban they probably ban negative reviews.
Right, dude. Like, the best place to work, and they do all this fake woke stuff all the time when this is like such a classic tactic. Like, we're here for energy, whatever, carbon zero, blah, blah, blah. They don't care, dude.
No.
If anytime Amazon is backing your movement, you're in the wrong movement.
Yes. I agree with that. The other thing about that whole, just cancel culture and banning words and stuff, I just think about, like, okay, imagine if you worked at a Chinese labor camp. Do you think any of them are going to tell them, like a sweatshop, that they're in a bad working environment? They don't have the power to speak up against the people that they're working for, because we saw what happened at Google. I believe it was Google. Yeah, it was, when that guy spoke out against all the woke stuff that was happening over there. Yeah. And he actually wrote a really good, it was like Jerry Maguire-esque type document with scientific backing behind his statements about like gender wage gaps and just percentages of women in the workforce. I mean, he had scientific studies behind it, and they canned him, and then, he ended up being in the crossfires of this culture war.
Yeah. Was that Zach Voorhees? Is that who you're talking about?
Might have been. I don't know if it was Zach Voorhees, but there's multiple examples of it.
Well, dude, I don't know how you work at those places. Like, that's what's in terror. Like, they've gotten so good at silencing everyone. I mean, people are terrified to say the wrong thing. And that's why I always hate, like, it, but then the right does it the same. Like, do you know your employee? It's just, maybe that's just the way the time is, but everyone's essentially a tattletale. So
Well, I'm glad you said that because the right and you said this, and I don't know if this was your original thought or if you read it in a book somewhere, but about how the right seems to be the same thing but 5 years behind the left.
yeah.
And we're starting to see some of the early signs of blue check mark conservatism doing the same crap that made me want to leave the left in 2016. And one of the things you were saying is the censorship. I was talking to somebody that said they went to some like, new wave conservative type, uh, committee or gathering, and they were censoring certain things that you could do and say, that, didn't, I think they censored the Let's Go Brandon or something along those lines,
Yeah.
where they were doing the same type of censorship that the left was doing in 2016. We're like, hey, what are you doing? Like, I thought we're talking about free speech here. We're supposed to be the party of free speech and, Second Amendment and everything. Yeah. And then you're censoring words. So,
well, dude, it's just, the climate is just so, as always, it just keeps getting more and more crazy. But I saw Jon Stewart and like the articles about him. Like, it's just so confused, dude. Everyone's looking for somebody to champion behind. And I thought Jon Stewart wasn't for a while people were, or was it Bill Maher that people were like, oh my God, he's saying, I guess maybe it was Bill. I thought Jon Stewart was doing it too. But for anyone listening, Jon Stewart said like he almost became too woke for Cory Booker, who's the New Jersey senator or something like that.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I would say Jon Stewart, out of all of the, I'll call them left-leaning comedian philosophical types, he has probably the most reason out of all of them. And I think that's why they took him off Comedy Central, because he calls a spade more than the quote unquote woke comedians do. And I think that's why they replaced him with Stephen Colbert. I think Jon Stewart's more willing to call BS on both sides of the aisle. Bill Maher, every once in a while, shows signs of life every once in a while, but Colbert is gone.
Oh, dude.
Colbert is totally gone.
I don't know how, like, I guess you sleep on a bag of money. That's how you sleep at night. Because you know they have, like, these people are intelligent. Comedians are always like the smartest people. But to just push this, like, I would literally hate myself. I would be like, dude, I'm an idiot.
Right. Well, see, the whole philosophy of my podcast, QTN, Question Narrative Podcast, is don't lose the funny. And the main argument that I'm saying is that the ability to have humor, comedy is the number one way to show where a society is. For example, comedians tell jokes to check the pulse, to see what they can get away with. And the more freedom a comedian has to say what they want means the freer a society is, the more we're willing to accept. Now we're having instances, and say what you want about the slap heard around the world, where you tell a G.I. Jane joke at an Oscars and get slapped on stage. And, whether or not it was predetermined, whether or not it was staged, whether or not, I actually don't think that the slap itself was fake. I think there was a lot of things around it, but the slap itself wasn't fake. But the thing about it is now comedians are finally starting to see like, oh shit, you can get smacked in the face for telling a joke. You can get canceled for words, and that's what's problematic.
Well, first, dude, you actually aren't allowed to have an opinion. I don't know if you know your skin color. So you really should go back. We'll probably take this out of the episode. We don't want to be insensitive.
Oh, but, right.
Dude, it was, I got so sick of people talking about it, and whether it was real or I don't even like, just the point of the matter that like we will fight over anything, and people will be divided over something as like what we should be easily agreed upon. Like you can't slap someone for saying a word or whatever, for doing an action or saying something. But that seems to be like thrown out the window. It's either like it was fake or he had every right to do that.
Right. And one of the great things I heard from the late great Patrice O'Neal is he said all jokes come from the same birth, meaning they come from the same place. And you don't know when the joke comes out of your mouth, whether it's going to be well received, whether it's going to be funny, whether it's not going to be funny, whether it's going to offend or not offend. But the whole object is the right to tell the joke and to understand the difference between comedy, satire, and reality. And I think that's that was the main reason why I left the left in 2016, was their inability to recognize humor and satire. And that's why I went in full satire mode. My whole brand was trolling and satire, because I thought that was the best way to get the message across, dude. Like, people love memes. I mean, your Instagram memes have been amazing like the last month. Like, when I get on Instagram, like, they're dark, but I love them, you know, but you're talking about real stuff, dude. Like, especially the one about like the, you know, the transgender demon head looking person, you know, story time, you know, reading to children. I mean, look at this,
Yeah.
dude.
I'm trying to,
Like,
oh, here, this one. Yeah.
that's the reality, man. You know,
Dude,
and then
there's,
the other one,
yeah.
yeah, the other one about the statistics of the Gen Z, like 20% born 1997 to 2003, you know, recognizing LGBTQ. I mean, this is real stuff. But, you know, then you go to this is a 8chan meme, the one that you had about, like, you were talking about your wife, Disney being groomed. Pull
Yeah.
that one up. I love this one, because that one, that's a 8chan meme right there. Like, you're not going to
Yes.
find that anywhere. So let's look at that, right? Like, they're pushing all of this LGBTQ stuff onto your kids. Now, if they find it naturally within the first 20 years of their life, whatever, you can have your own judgment upon that. But there's a total difference when it's being propagandized through Disney, through teachers, through early on education. And then the picture on the right, the guy who says no groomer, and you got the kid with the baseball bat and the wife behind him. You know, they're looked at as the picture on the right, they're looked at as the bad guy right now. And the picture on the left, they're looked at as the heroes, man. And that's what's so ass backwards about what's going on right now. You
Dude,
know?
well, so, and it brings me back to like, I loved like that graph that how 20%, for anyone listening, 20% of Gen Z, that's 97 2003, identifies as LGBT. And then it's 10 for millennials, 4 for X, 2 for boomers, and 0 for traditionalists. But it's just so, like, clearly this graph, and someone would say, well, no, they feel more comfortable opening up. And I don't believe that could account for a literal 100% increase in one generation to the next. Like, there is something else
Right.
behind this. You know, we could say Alex Jones, they're making the frogs gay, but I
mean,
don't think
dude,
I don't.
who knows? I mean, there could be multiple contributing factors, you know?
Yeah.
But
But
let's take Occam's razor, the simplest, you know, solutions usually. So let's think of the simplest reason why this chart has, you know, 20% of Gen Z, you know, identifying as LGBTQ. And just like you said, the simplest logical explanation is indoctrination.
Mhm. Well, dude, I
You know?
like how you said the invert of that meme, how it was like the people that would in the past thousands years of history would be viewed as the good guys, how it's inverted. And it
Yep.
reminds me just like how everything, I did a show on DC symbolism, and everyone knows how DC is shaped out as a point. The White House is the bottom of the point of the pentagram, and that's because that's the most perverse part. It's flip flopped in the Babylonian religion or whatever you want to call it, and it truly is like that's why if you feel lost and confused, you're meant to be, because everything
Mhm.
is inverted. Anything that even maybe your body or you grew up with, it's gone because they're purposely inverting everything.
Yeah, and I think there's a huge battle with children between um being supportive of their parents and trusting in their parents and following pop culture. Like,
Mhm.
before, it was, you know, there was an obviously established, you know, hierarchy in the household, and the parents were the authority figure. But now you see so much teen angst, and you see so much rebellion against parents. You know, and even within governments, they're trying to take kids away from the parents. But I think the number one perpetrator is pop culture. And it's
Yeah.
okay to have your kids listen to some of the stuff if it's vetted, as long as they're not obsessed over it to the point where, you know, they look to pop culture to, you know, create their values, because now their value system is being formed more through, you know, pop culture than it is through their household.
Yes, dude. Well, and I don't know if I talked about this with you, but this phenomenon called gradualism, where
Hmm.
what they've done in TV, how they, slowly introduce more, like if you imagine putting a TV show at like Game of Thrones on TV in the 70s, 80s, you would have a whole group of angry moms attacking you. But
Yeah.
slowly but surely, like, they just take it one step further and you get what's not exposed, but like it becomes normal, it's desensitized.
Yep.
And that's what just keeps like they just keep desensitizing everyone to violence, to probably the things that are eventually going to happen on a large scale in America, in the world, just crime, death, um, poverty, all
Yeah.
these things. And it's so like even the show Shameless. Did you ever watch Shameless?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh
Dude,
yeah. Oh
like
yeah.
it's a funny show. Like I watch, but
Yeah.
all is on the show is like degeneracy,
The
sex,
whole thing.
promiscuity. That's it.
And what does
That's
it
the
have?
funny
It's a
stuff.
lack of a male role
Yeah,
model in the house. It's basically run by the kids. And, a lot of it is, yeah, like you're saying, the absence of well, the male figure is there, but he's a degenerate
right.
drunk, you know? He's a funny character in a sitcom, but in an actual real life situation, that's a sad ass household, man. It's a
Dude,
really
and
sad household.
I think I talked to, but regardless, like there in the 50s, televisions are, widespread. In Mexico, they had the telenovelas, which is like the soap operas down there. And everyone in Mexico, the average kid, 5 kids per family, which is so crazy, so awesome.
Mhm.
That was the average. So I mean, some people had 7, some you guys know what averages mean. But after this show, it had 3 kids. And literally, like within the next 5 years, that number went from 5 to 3 just because of that TV show. They brought it out like, oh,
Really?
you can't. Yeah, dude, you like then the motto or whatever they were pushing was like, oh, 5 kids, you can't dedicate enough time to them. So 3 is a good number because you can give them enough love and care. If you have any more, it's just too, it's going to be a mess. And dude, there's countless examples of like I'm working on a feminist book right now. And that was the CIA, Rockefellers gave all this money to these magazines, and it was written by these communist ladies, these Marxist ladies, and they wrote stories about how you need to like use your vagina to take over and have sex. You don't want to be locked down with a family. Oh, you're not living up to your full potential. And these magazines were like big in the 60s and 70s. And what do you see within 10 years, dude?
Yeah, I mean, well, you see you see the divorce rate go up. The other thing is you see um they also want to tax 100% of the population too, right?
Right, dude.
So, I mean, you have to think of the financial incentive too of having, with the nuclear family is bad for the government because they can't tax everybody. So, that's an issue as well. But you see divorce rates happening. You see less of a reliance on the family, and and you're ignoring the fact that when you talk about this gender wage gap, there's a lot of instances in which mothers choose to become a mother and you know
Right.
forego whatever career they have to start a family, and they get demonized for it. So they
Uh,
demonize the stay-at-home mom, which to me is a very important role in raising your child.
Right. Well, dude, and I used to like struggle because all these economic systems are controlled by the bankers, but this cultural Marxism, and that is true. Like the Marxist doctrine, they talk about breaking down the nuclear family. They talk about having the state raise the children and et cetera, et cetera. And that's all these things that it's just step by step. They're taking more and more. They'll either make you force both of you to work just so you can afford your house and a car and a middle class life. You're tired when you get home, your kids, you let the TV and the state raise them. And it's
Yeah.
working beautifully, dude. They're killing it. They're
It's
doing
funny you
great.
said that. One of your other memes was about how the houses used to be affordable. If you want to pull that one
Yeah.
up too, because I loved your memo. It was like, we'll never forget what you did to us. I mean, look at that. $11,990, $87 a month. Now I know there's inflation and stuff, but I mean the affordability. I mean, even think about Married with Children, right? He was a shoe salesman and they could afford that
Right.
house. And
Right.
granted, it was fictitious, but the whole notion is you don't have to have $150,000 a year income in order to live in an affordable house. And I think the affordability of things is unbelievable, man. I mean, like people are spending 50 to 70% of their income just on rent alone,
Dude,
and
I
yeah.
saw an awesome, like, I wish I had damn Twitter, but anyway, so they were talking about birth rates and how, obviously the birth rate in America is going down, but so it's actually really only going down for the middle class. So it's a U. So the middle class is the bottom of the U. We're having the least amount of kids. On the high, the rich people, they're having on average, like look at Gavin Newsom. I think he's got like 4 kids, but all these wealthy people, they're having 4 or 5 kids. And same with the impoverished, they're having 4 or 5 kids. So
Well,
what this does is it's ripping the middle class is unable to replace itself. So even if so say you maintain a good job in these horrible economies, well, you're having less kids. So eventually you're going to be outpaced by the far poor and the far rich. And all this is doing is another movement again to remove the middle class, which again is a brilliant tactic. Like you couldn't come up with a better one if you wanted to, you know?
I mean, it's the most successful way to create an authoritarian rule is to take out the middle class and create, you know, like I hate to use this term because it's a communist term, but the whole bourgeoisie proletariat thing.
Love it.
But
Love it.
You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
like, you know, and granted, like the whole idea of communism is the worst philosophical and never been put into good use idea. But also the notion of the destruction of the middle class is the number one successful way for, you know, the people at the top to control everybody else. And that's why when that whole notion of free stuff, you know, nothing is ever free. You're always paying into it. But
Right.
like kind of like, and I'm wondering if that U shape is a U because people at the lower end of the spectrum aren't working yet. They're still getting a lot of the government handouts.
That's exactly it, dude. Yeah, they get. I told this story last night, but the more kids you have, the bigger your check is. Like,
yeah,
and
I mean,
yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just getting like I told this story last night. My dad was a social worker in Philly in the 60s and 70s. 10 kids this lady had. But she all with like different fathers because each kid you get another whatever. So what does that incentivize you to do? Not have kids? No.
I mean, if you think about it, you end up becoming a baby farm, right? Because like it's like if you're breeding dogs or whatever, and you know that each dog's worth $1,500 to the owner, you want to breed more dogs. If you know you have a kid and it's going to be a stream of income of an extra $1,000 to $1,500 a month, I mean, you're going to look at that kid as a $1,500 bill. You know, that's what you're going to look at your child as. And so that's when, you know, you see these parents have these kids for those reasons. And that's why the kids grow up without a loving family. It's not because you're having more kids. It's because of the incentive to have kids. That's really what it is.
And someone in the chat said the propaganda on the inner city and poor classes. And that's definitely, they are bombarded with the same propaganda that it's just different variety. They're victimized. They're, you know, oh, poor you. It's the middle class's fault. It's not Gavin Newsom's fault or Jeff Bezos' fault. It's the middle class. The white people did this to you.
So you're an active gym goer. So one of the main rules of going to the gym is that the iron doesn't lie. And I've said this. So the iron will tell you if you've been doing your work, if you've been putting in the work. The iron will tell you if you've been slacking off because weights that you could lift, you can no longer lift. So when you go to the gym, you're surrounded by people that are personally accountable for their bodies, their physique, their lifestyle. No excuses. They know if they miss a gym date or if they miss a week or if they slack off, they're losing progress. There's no victimhood mentality in the weight room. And so you meet these people of all shapes and sizes and colors and creeds that get over the victim mentality. You're not going to meet that many people in the weight room that have the victim mentality because they know that it's the greatest weakness. It's the greatest thing to weaken your progress. Like the progress comes through the hard work. You know, that's what it comes through. And then you see noticeable changes and then you become addicted to that. But that was the one thing I loved about going to the gym was that you meet everybody. You're not going to meet somebody that says, oh, the white man's holding me down or this, my boss is holding me down. No, they've already busted through that invisible barrier because they set a completely different, you know, mindset for themselves.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And dude, that's what, I mean, American idealism or what we thought we had, maybe we had it in the 50s was like a similar, if you work hard, you'll get a job, you'll be able to afford a house. You have the world at your finger. That's what made this country so amazing was exactly that. If you worked hard and then slowly, but they ripped this away from us step by step. And it's honestly enough to break you down because like we all know that this isn't like this picture that we have that you could buy this house on a single paying job family. They've stolen that from us on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, the one good thing about it is about what's going on is I think it's birthing an age of entrepreneurial spirit. Like a lot of people are learning, that they can, it's forcing people to be more creative with how they make money, and it's forcing people to kind of go out on a lot of people, not everybody.
Well, look at you, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I lost my job, my radio job, because of vaccine mandates, which, by the way, are no longer there at the company.
Dude, that must. Oh my God.
I don't even care. I really don't care. I don't care. I learned so much from that. I learned that I have to operate doing my own thing. Because when I'm doing my thing, I wake up with this different motivation, man. Like from the moment I wake up, it's like, it's like a very organic, animalistic type, going out into the wild and hunting.
Dude, that's great.
Yeah. And you know what? You may end up with less money. You may end up with more money. But if you're unhappy with your situation on a day-to-day life, I'm not gonna tell you to quit your job, but don't feel afraid to take the plunge, man.
Dude, and I think that's huge. Like we're at a time where it's like, if you hate what you're doing, you got to find something, because we shouldn't live like that's how they want you to live. That I always like, it's like a picture you going up the hill, like Monday's the bottom of the hill. You get to the top on Friday and then you go down and you start the hill again. Like that's
Right.
not the life we're meant to live. We're supposed to enjoy every day. And obviously you're going to have bad days and
Oh, dude,
things like that. But
there's elements to every job that you don't like. And so even with like your job, it still allows you to do creative things. You still have a creative outlet. You still have time for your girlfriend. You still have time to go to the gym. You still have time to do extracurricular stuff. So it's not beating you down on a day-to-day basis. But if you find yourself in a situation where the only thing you enjoy throughout the day are your bathroom breaks and leaving work, and you spend 60 hours of your week doing that, then it's going to eat away at your soul if you allow it to.
and then that's again, they want you exhausted. They want you eating, their poison food of chemicals. They want you watching their TV shows and encourage this internet activism and groupthink, and you'll never step out. You'll just be so tired. You just want to get along to go along. So you'll agree with the largest group, which clearly we know which is the largest voice, at least, or loudest voice.
Yeah. So it's funny you said that. There's two really concrete examples that I want to use. So last weekend, my girlfriend had her nephews over, and their ages 8, 10, and 13. She comes home from 9 hours of working. I come home from my gig, and we wake up. They spend the night, and we wake up Sunday morning, and I am exhausted, dude. She's asleep, and they are running around the house at like 8 o'clock in the morning. I swear to God, like no regard for the fact that we're asleep, just having full blown child arguments in the room where we're sleeping. So what did we do? We turned on Disney Plus. And what I said was, I'm going to watch this with them, and I'm going to see what they're watching. Yeah. So we watched this movie called Turning Red. And to them, it's innocent enough. But if you read the plot, it's about this little girl that has this inner demon that comes out in the form of this red panda. Okay. So they disguise it as a red panda. And the whole notion was that this demon, this red panda, was passed along from generation to generation. Okay. And it was like from like an ancient Chinese tradition, and she didn't know about it. So it was a battle between traditionalism of her family, who's teaching her how to harness it and get rid of it, and pop culture, where the whole plot of the movie was the group of kids wanted to go see a pop culture band called Four Town, which was like an NSYNC band. Okay. So what did she do? She took her inner demon, and instead of channeling it and trying to get rid of it, she profited off of it. So every time she turned into this big red panda, they would set up a shop and they would make money off it. And then they got enough money to go to this pop culture concert. Okay. And so by the end of the movie, the child basically turned against the parent, turned against traditionalism, turned against every value her parent has set, to go with her friends to see this pop culture, NSYNC style band, and chose to keep the red panda within her. Now it seems all happy go lucky, throughout this process, But realistically, it's everything we're talking about, where these kids are watching this movie about how a child chooses pop culture over the word and the, the value systems that generations have instilled, in her. So I found that to be really, really interesting. But even within that show, there were like satanic rituals going on and like talismans and all this strange stuff hidden
Yeah.
within the movie. And that's just one movie, man. I've seen
Right.
tons of them that are like that, and it's just amazing that Disney never fails me. When I watch a Disney movie, they never fail me with the hidden messages.
Well, dude, look at those topics you brought up. Demons,
Mhm.
like witchcraft, whatever word you want to use for that. And you may say like, okay, it's a child story, but you open those doors just a little, again, it's this gradual. So now when they get older, and not that I'm like knocking on people who have crystals and whatever works for you, but obviously there is something out there that can reach back out. That's why people worship this religion. And this is a great way you get people like at the theosophy of everyone. It's just like kind of that hippy dippy thing started by Blavatsky in like the 1800s. And all of our like Freemasons and Rosicrucians, they all have the same Nazism. It all has the same occult beliefs that isn't Christian. And that's why they do this stuff, because when you get older, now you'll maybe fall into one of these groups of like a crystal person or a yoga person and all these things. There's like, it gets you to that next level of these groups that are pulling you away from Christianity and into this Babylonian religion.
You ever notice that a lot of people that dabble in a lot of the stuff, it's very almost like trendy. Like they'll do it for like a little while and then they'll go on to the next thing and the next thing. And like, that's kind of their MO. Like they may do crystals for a couple months and then they're dabbling in tarot cards and then they're dabbling in, Bikram yoga, and maybe they're Muslim, or maybe they're Hindu for, Buddhist for a couple years, and then they're atheist. I mean, like they're always trying to like, hop on like the newest like trend. Right. I find that interesting. And then the one thing that always gets attacked throughout this is specifically Christianity. I always find that interesting that the one group that openly gets attacked without any repercussion is Christianity. I find that interesting. Yeah,
dude. And I'm sure you don't go on Reddit. I never go on Reddit, but there was it was like name a cult. That was like the topic. And someone put Christianity, it got like 400 upvotes. And then someone put Islam, and that comment got negative 500 votes.
Yeah, so like what's the difference? It really, I mean, like if you think about like philosophically, like they're both religions. Why is one a cult and one is racist or
right? Like that should tell you all you need to know, dude. They're trying to again invert every single thing that has lasted for hundreds of years, that has worked for humanity. They're trying to flip it around.
And you talked about gradualism. I used this example in yesterday with Janet. She asked me like, where do you think a lot of this demonic stuff started in music, and where do you think music's going? And the whole like proverbial sell your soul at the crossroads, the whole folklore story behind Robert Johnson selling his soul at the crossroads to become a blues guitar player. That's one of the biggest legends in modern.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
So, you ever heard I sold my soul at the crossroads? Have you ever heard anything? There was a whole song about it, or just selling your soul in general.
I've heard that part. Right. Yes. Right.
A lot of that stems from this folklore of this blues player that met the devil at the crossroads and sold his soul. But then it became popularized with Elvis Presley. He was the first big pop star where, remember, the TVs and the satanic panic moms were mad because he's gyrating his hips.
Right. Right.
Back then, hip gyrations were the problem, and they were saying his music was satanic, right? Back then,
yes.
He became the first big celebrity deaf. I mean, he was the biggest pop culture icon. What did he do? He started in music, then he went to movies, international. I live in Tennessee. To this day, there's a whole Elvis Presley week, and people come from around the world just to see his house. I mean, this dude's been dead for supposedly for 30 years.
Right.
One of the interesting thing, and then you have today the gradual process of that. then going into a lot of the occult stuff with Zeppelin and the Vietnam stuff. And then you have the 80s, which was like the androgyny, dress up like a woman, cocaine, makeup. 90s, you had the dystopian, I hate my life, I'm going to commit suicide.
Yes.
And now it's all just recycling that kind of stuff. To where now you have Foo Fighters releasing a movie called 666 Studio, and subsequently the drummer dies. So all of that being said, the music industry is the biggest perpetrator of this, and they know that. The hidden hand knows that. And so if you look at stuff like Elvis, he started singing gospel. I don't know if you realize that. He did all this pop stuff and then went straight gospel and then died. Right. So it's like you see a lot of these big stars when they go straight, or even politicians, JFK, right? Mob, but then he said he was going to splinter the CIA in 1,000 pieces, dead. Malcolm X, he went straight as far as like preaching more peace, dead. Tupac Shakur, he was a gangbanging druggie, and then he had an epiphany and he wanted to become, he felt like he had more responsibility as an artist. Boom, shot, boom, rape charge, then dead. I mean, it's just a common theme that when, once you've been in the belly of the beast and you realize that they want to be on the straight and narrow path, and sometimes they involved religion and faith, then they disappear. That's been the interesting trend in pop culture.
Well, and I talk about this story, but the Jesuits like started theater in the 1600s, and it was so powerful. They saw people would do whatever they said. And it's just, they've perfected this. I think like now though, well, maybe I'm just saying this because I don't care about celebrities, but it seems like they have less following, but maybe they don't. But
they don't. You're right. They're not the cool kids anymore.
You think? So that's,
without a doubt. Without a doubt. The Oscars numbers are way down. That's why some people think it was staged, because now everybody's talking about the Oscars, but it's not a good look. I mean, Will Smith is laughed at, the whole idea, even the Grammys, dude, the Grammys are down. People don't even know who the heck is on the stage anymore.
Yeah.
But I agree that there's part of it has to do with, there's so many different things to occupy your time that it's not as centralized anymore. But the other thing is there's a lot of people that don't want to buy into that product, that are finally seeing the true nature of it, whether or not it's subconsciously or whether or not they actually see it.
What I know you guys did a show on the Grammys. Was there anything crazy that happened at the Grammys?
I know this may not sound crazy, but I think the craziest thing was actually the fact that it wasn't crazy. I know that sounds weird, but it was very subtle. Everybody was dressed in black. It looked like a funeral. The colors were very thematic, black and gold, but a lot of people were wearing suits. When they were on the red carpet, they were wearing different attire than when they got in there, but everybody was accepting their award, and they were wearing black. Black's usually a sign of, like, we use it in funerals. It's a transition type symbol, and gold is obviously a sign of personal wealth and fame and achievement. So that was a common theme, and those are very common colors used in the cabal, that with purple. But, you had Lil Nas X with his little, monarch butterfly. And then the main thing with the Grammys is you always try to find out who the new young girl that they're trying to groom is. Right. And it seems like Olivia Rodrigo is the new one that they're trying to groom.
I think she did something with the White House, didn't she? She was like,
probably,
I think, but dude, and the symbol thing, I know that, even if, you picked out like the monarch butterfly and stuff, there was this awesome quote, and I wish I had it up, but basically like this one Kabbalistic Gnostic guy, he said like how powerful symbols are. I mean, it's so like, just like how we say memes are so powerful, that's out to these Gnostic, whatever, Kabbalistic, Luciferian worshipers, those symbols, they recognize immediately. And it says like a whole story that you and I have no idea about. I'm just bringing that because, like, I'm sure we miss so much that they do, because that's all these symbols. There's so much energy involved in all of them. And they've been doing it forever.
Yeah. And, here's the thing about it is, like, if you go back and watch the Grammys again, watch each individual performance and ask yourself, does this have a dark does this make me, just simple question, does this make me feel happy? Does this
Ooh.
make me feel sad? How does it make you, how does it make me feel? And I want you to watch every single performance. And every single one, except for maybe the one, I left with a lower, more of a
Right.
depressing, lower vibration, lower
Right.
frequency. It was very dark, and those are like the kind of subtle things that I don't think people pay attention to as much as like the, portals opening up and
Right.
flames and triangles and all this other shit. I think sometimes the subtlety of it, it reminded me a lot when Adele did her Return to Saturn
Oh, yes.
show. You remember
Yes.
that? The one
Yes.
night only?
Yes.
Same concept. She was dressed in dark clothing, and a lot of the elites were around her in this occult, like I forget what the name of
It was
the
like a
type of
planetarium,
theater.
but I forget the
Yeah,
name
dude.
of it.
It was very like old school, like Greek looking,
Yeah.
like amphitheater
Yes,
style.
that's what. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I felt like that mimicked it. The other thing is maybe someone at higher up said, "Listen, we need a clean show after what happened at the Oscars, like that." Like,
Dude,
y'all need to be on your best behavior.
it's I like that how you said the Greek thing. Oh, yeah, it just reminds me like there's these like shows and all that they're just been going on for they're so powerful with subconsciously manipulating us. It's just insane. Like I mentioned it before, like Shakespeare, he had tons of symbolism in all his plays. Like these things just have it's the same tricks, and that's why they don't teach history at any single like it's not required at universities and things because otherwise more people would say, "Holy shit, this has been like they've been doing the same thing. Why do they keep doing these things?"
Yeah.
But
Well, I
I
mean
don't
that,
know.
when I mentioned the word talisman, I mean that was used in that movie. I mean that's kind of the similar thing, like it's a symbol that has more power than you would think. It's like it's usually engraved in something or like what okay, so if you stare at a swastika, how does that make you feel? Like if you stare at certain symbols, it makes you hungry, it makes you happy, it makes you sad. That's a form of a talisman that can harness that.
Ooh,
So that's why like companies put a lot of effort and a lot of money into their symbolism because they want to extract that type of message. They want a particular message,
I like that.
being sent. So advertising's real, man. I mean, when they started using the Freudian method of marketing, where it's not just like buy this product because it does this function. It's
Mm,
now buy this product because without it, you're less. Without it, you're not sexy. Without it, you're not rich. Without it, you're not, whatever they
right,
want to use.
right.
They use psychological, they use our, they use our psychosis in order to make us purchase. You can do the same thing with propaganda. There's no difference between marketing a product and marketing war, or marketing you to back Ukraine automatically. Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, let's just have Zelensky in the middle of a apparent invasion make a guest appearance on the Grammy. What? Like,
Right, dude.
how does anybody that has any remote like common sense look at that and not say, okay, this is weird?
Yes.
Zelensky, like you didn't even know his name a year ago, and now the president of Ukraine is calling the Grammys, in the middle of an apparent invasion. What is going on?
Dude, what's your take? Like, what do you think that reasoning? Do you think it's they just want people to accept and say, yes, we need to send soldiers to Ukraine? Is that why they're doing that? What do you think the reason is of why they're pushing like this Marvel superhero that is Zelensky so much?
Well, it's funny you say Marvel superhero because like superheroes are created. Like we're so obsessed
So
with
obsessed.
superhero. We're a superhero culture, and so when he comes on the Grammys, it's kind of like it's a guest appearance. The same way if you're pushing your next movie, you go on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno or David Letterman or whoever to put. They're pushing war propaganda. It's a typical wag the dog tactic. It's a war propaganda tactic. But what they're doing is they're using Hollywood and they're using the music industry. Why? Because maybe a Lady Gaga changes her avatar to a Ukrainian flag or her Instagram symbol or hashtag I stand with Ukraine. You know, if you look at a lot of these pop stars, they're always aligned with big, you
Always.
know, United Nations, feed the hungry, make the world a better place. Where does this money go? You know, so there was a huge Live Aid concert in the 80s. If you watch Bohemian Rhapsody, Queen took part in it, and it was filmed around the world.
Right.
Every big band in the world was at this concert, and people just funneled their money into this Live Aid show. And where did all this money go? Africa is still what it is. I mean, like, you didn't save Africa. The whole world got together and donated money, and they're still having the same problem.
It's amazing. This is like what the most mind blowing. Like, obviously they push this world agenda to create imagine a world with no borders and all these things. And so many people cheer this on, but yet, like with the Ukraine thing, they can then rationalize, oh, they're sovereign borders. Like, I don't know how people can. I think that I forget what word you just used. It wasn't psychosis. Like, it's such a psychosis that you can bend on a dime, or whatever the saying is. If they say, oh, wait, hold on, borders are bad, but not here. You're like, oh, damn right. Borders, not good in America. They're important. And you can somehow justify this because so many people are literally suffering from like a psychosis-like event.
Yes. Yeah. And that's really what it is. And so, when they're suffering from the psychosis, you are living in a literal fairy tale, which allows you to believe other fairy tales. They would rather believe a story than believe the truth. I mean, think about that. I've heard people say that to me, that you read it, that people read about it. Oh, we love this story about Zelensky. Like, he's our hero. Like, it's the same thing out of, George Orwell's 1984 with the whole just war, and then you have your heroes of war, and then you have your villains, So right now, Putin is like that. What's his name? The Goldstein character, where you're supposed to hate Vladimir Putin, right? I mean, okay, why? Like, give me a reason why. Like, it seems like part of the reason for all this going on, and I listened to every word Vladimir Putin had to say, and he was specifically saying, we are not invading, we are not coming after innocent people. Like, he pointed to 2014, was like, you've been working under a puppet shadow government for the last 8 years, and NATO's coming in here, and the West is trying to point guns at us. And listen, there's a lot of truth behind what he was saying.
Absolutely. And that's absolutely true. Like, and I try not to because I still think Putin, I mean, he was part of that World Economic Forum or whatever, and I still think they're evil, but they're so good at that's all our brains can understand. That's why everyone knows about World War II. Everyone knows Nazis, because they put in their brain, they say Nazis, ultimate evil. So everyone's a Nazi that I disagree with. And that's what they need to do for this war, because people cannot handle gray areas. Like, we are so dumbed down and just totally out of our minds that we can't comprehend. Like, well, maybe he has some valid points. Maybe they have some valid points. I don't know. I'm not going to take a stand because I don't know where to stand. Right. But people can't do that.
I don't take a stand either. What I did was I trolled I stand with Ukraine people. Like, I changed my avatar to Soda Popinski, the Russian boxer from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and I changed my profile to, and I copied it, put English to Russian, and then I copied it back, and now my profile was in Russian, and I had the Russian flag. Like, dude, like, if you're gonna put this I stand with Ukraine without knowing what you're talking about, fine. I'll put I stand with Russia without having no idea what I'm talking about. And so here's the other thing. You locate Ukraine on a freaking map, and maybe I'll talk to you. My favorite thing was when, like, the Teachers Union of America had this I stand with Ukraine picture made, which I'm sure they made hundreds of copies of this thing and passed it out to all their teachers. I can't even imagine how many history and geography teachers this went through without them even noticing it. So they had this picture of this "I stand with Ukraine," and the
Yeah.
flag was upside
I
down,
love it, dude.
which
I
may
love
seem
it.
like not a big deal, but that's the ultimate disrespect to a country. Like,
Right.
when you wanna say, like, "Oh, I'm against what America stands for," you put the American flag picture upside down. Let me see if I
Right,
can
dude.
find that. Teachers Union,
Yeah, I'll look, but dude, it was
Ukraine.
just, I saw that tweet, upside down.
Let's see.
Oh,
This is
maybe
gonna
it, oh yeah, I got it, I think.
You
Oh,
got
you
it?
have it on your, all right, I'm gonna pull it right here.
Okay, yeah, there
There
it
it is.
is. So, I mean, dude, if you just look at that picture, okay, that's a professionally done poster, right? How many people saw that and how many sets of eyes were on that? And they said, "Oh yeah, that looks great." And
Well,
it got all the way to a blue check mark teachers like union
yes.
uh leader Twitter page and was posted and the flag is upside down.
Dude, and this is like, that was another top, like it epitomizes the state and the educate, like both of our parents are teachers or were teachers. There has been this change like in the last 50, like I never knew my teacher, like I knew they were Mrs., they were a wife obviously or a mom, but beyond that I had no idea. Like no third grade teacher was telling me about their dates with their significant other.
Right.
So the article that I pulled up was how um a OnlyFans porn star, a gay guy, not that that matters, but I'm just saying, and he's a preschool teacher. One, if you are a male and you want to teach preschool, you're not teaching my kid because that's weird, dude. All
Yeah.
right, something's wrong
Dude,
with you.
I I have been in education for a long time, and I've never met a male teacher like that's taught like I'll be honest with you, below 5th grade
Yes.
that didn't have a freaking screw loose, man. And here's the thing is the younger that it gets, the more screws are loose. Like I knew a guy that was a 2nd grade teacher and I had questions. But when you get into
Dude, that's fair.
preschool, what what male in their right mind wants to be a preschool teacher? It's kind of like, listen, and I grew up Catholic, but okay, why the rule about priests having to be male, what does that incentivize? It
Right.
incentivizes uh usually gay pedophilic style priests because they're only surrounded by altar boys all day, right?
Right.
So generally they're going to want to be around what they're targeting. And with men, I swear to God, like I've never met and listen, if you're a male preschool teacher and you got your crap together, prove me wrong. And,
There's
and I'm sorry.
exceptions to the rule,
There
always.
always are. There
Yeah.
always are. But I would not want my child in preschool around
No,
another
nine
dude.
times, dude. That's just like again, and they're trying to break down these gender roles that are supposedly a social construct. But no, dude, that's why women are wonderful mother because they're more, and this is not this is we both have our positive. They're more emotional and considerate and empathizing, and that's why they're great teachers, especially as younger kids, because it's like a second mom, whether that's right or wrong. But to have a man whose traditional role for thousands of years has been hunter, a more disciplinarian type of role,
And it's
it
that way
makes
in
no
nature
sense.
too. What do
Exactly.
baby animals do? They attach themselves to the mothers for either milk or the mother goes out and gets food or
Right.
like whatever it is, they attach themselves to the mother at the early age and there's nothing
Yes.
wrong with that.
No.
And preschool is very maternal. Like that's what you need. Once you get older, fine. I taught 7th and 8th grade, middle school where, listen, men need male figures throughout their
Yes.
entire lives, but
Yes.
especially at those transitional age where they don't really know what's going on with their bodies. They're starting to like girls or they're starting to like whatever. And they need somebody that they can relate to. They need a male figure. They can't be in a completely female dominated environment all day.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. Like this is coming from somebody that has an education degree that some freaking creepy creepos, man. They really are, dude.
Well, dude,
They
and
really are.
it's like how you're just saying men, need a role model. And that's it's more true now than ever. Like that, the feminist movement, it didn't just raise this like promiscuous, girl boss lady. It brought at that same token, it took for men. So now men are evil. They're they're pigs, they're whatever. And that dude, could you like that's why I think that graph that we showed at the beginning, why 20% identify with LGBT, whatever, is because, dude, that's the only protection though, especially as growing up a young white male in these days, dude, a Christian white male, you have a target on your back. Everyone's telling you inherently evil. And so if you're a weak, no, or you lack confidence, you're awkward.
Hold on, I'm white. I might be white, but I'm gay.
Right. That's your defense. That's your shield, dude, because otherwise if you have lack confidence and everyone tells there's nothing you are evil, Bob, no matter what you do.
Yeah, but I'm gay, so listen to me. That's what you're that's kind of good. Or I'm binary or I tell you what though, if I promise you, if someone say you could get a full scholarship to be on a freaking swim team and swim against women, I mean, like, call me Bobina, dude. Like that's like $50K education. NCAA champ. I don't care, woman, guy. If I'm listen, it says NCAA champ next to my name.
Hell yeah, dog. You can wear that proudly. Do you think that broke the camel's back?
Yes.
I love it. Yeah.
I mean, realistically, that is a clear, definitive example of the science being incorrect, of the philosophy being incorrect. And there's no denying it. There's zero denying it. You cannot deny it. You even saw it in the body language of the women, where the 3 women that, for those of you that didn't know, we're talking about the transgender male to female Leah Thomas who swam against, biological women. It won the NCAA. I mean, smoke them, dude. When you watch the video, it isn't even close. And you hear boos at the end. You hear a lot of boos. Oh yeah, yeah. Because these women have been working hard their entire lives, man. Yes. And so when you look at that podium, look at that picture right there. You see the 3 of them.
There we go.
Yeah, huddled up because that's the truth. And it's not that they're ostracizing Leah for being transgender or whatever. They know that the science put them at a disadvantage, that is a biological male swimming against female. And the most anti-feminist thing you could ever do is put a man in a woman's sport, dude. Martina Navratilova, who was like a champion, she was like this lesbian champion tennis player from 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
She was basically kicked out of the LGBTQ community because she said men shouldn't, transgendered male to female should not be playing against women. But that's not gay enough, apparently.
Right.
Like a feminist gay woman saying that, apparently, like now there's like different levels. Like one of the best episodes I did of the QTM podcast was with my buddy Marty, who's bisexual, and we talked about the oppression Olympics. And so I said, I want you to rate all the letters, like as far as like who's at the top of the oppression of the LGBT. And he said the T's, man, the transgenders are at the top. Like they are the king, the kings and queens. Like you top cannot mess with them. Yeah. And so there's infighting within, that community.
There is, dude. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I know that this like may be hard not for our people listening, but like there's something, it's more than just being this equality, cultural Marxism type of thing. Like there's something more sinister underneath this huge push. And whether, like I posted that one of the Baphomet, and it all stems back to that stuff, everybody. Like that's literally why it's a sick religion that they're trying to push on everybody, and they won't stop until it's it's accomplished.
Yeah. And if you would have asked me 10 years ago if this was possible for it to be culturally accepted, I would have said, get out of here. So that leads me to say that at some point, I think pedophilia is, they keep trying hard and hard to normalize it. They're giving it new names. I forget what the name is they call it. It's like, there's an actual term for it that they're probably going to try to attach to LGBTQ at some point. And I hope to God that that's the breaking point. I hope to God that that's the breaking point.
Dude,
because
you're so right. Like 10 years ago, none of this would have even flew, but it's going so fast. Like I think they're trying to say minor attracted persons.
MAPS.
Yeah. And that's dude, it's still not acceptable. Like, but people are starting to view them as like a drug addict. And, it's just so like, dude, and you can see it's coming though. It's right there below the surface, and they're going to go, we know they're going to go for it. Like that is the goal. is to get to that point where everything has been inverted totally, where all evil is good and all
I look at it
good
like
is
this.
evil.
You have alcoholism in your family or you're an alcoholic, you stay away from bars.
Right.
You know, if you haven't attracted to children, stay away from children. That, you know,
Yes.
like stay away from them.
Don't
Like
be a
that,
preschool teacher.
that's it. Don't be a preschool teacher. But the problem is, it's the exact opposite. Where and I saw this when I was growing up, is that there were a lot of and I'm not going to call anybody out specifically, but there were certain people that I worked with that I could tell were around young girls because of a sexual attraction to them. You
Right.
know, and what happens is they put themselves in situations and in job scenarios to where they can be around them more. And I always noticed these certain people would give more attention to the young girls than they would give to even like and I don't mean this in a mean way, but you know, let's just say a young girl that, you know, might be heavy set or, you know, lesser attractive on the on the spectrum, I guess you say. So they spend more time with the more it girls of that grade and than they would, like, dispersing your time equally amongst all, you know, all the kids. And it was so obvious to me when I was working these summer camps, like who the creep jobs were, you know. And the worst part about it is parents let them into their homes, like let them into their homes and coach their kids and babysit their kids. And I've known a couple of them that either dated students of theirs in high school or attempted to date students of theirs, you know, that were high school teachers. And, you know, it's problematic.
And dude, these are the people that get into positions of power as well. I think that's like these people, like we all, I'm sure every one of us that went to school, public school, at least, that you knew a teacher like in middle school or high school that was like, damn, dude, that guy's creepy. But those are the exact type of people that they will become politicians or will become whatever, powerful bankers, because they're lacking confidence. Now they have power. So now they're so thrilled they have this power. They will do what they'll take advantage of it. They'll have sex with as many women as possible. They will and do whatever to keep that power. And that's the people you hire. You don't hire a strong, confident male or female as a politician. You hire somebody that lacks confidence, that's their identity, is this job. And without it, they'd be worthless.
Yeah, I mean, look who we have in office right now, and that was apparent when Obama made his special appearance. That like this guy, like he's completely ignored, and he's a shadow puppet government that nobody respects. I mean, you don't want strong leadership. You know, that's the last thing you want is a strong leader without IOUs on their back. So you know,
dude, that was hilarious watching that clip today. Let me see if I can pull it up for
dude. That is the most symbolic clip. And there's another clip of Obama, like being asked, like, if you would have a third term, would you accept it? And he basically said, like, if I could be president from my couch and just have like a president with an earpiece in and I just shout him orders, I would do it. I found that interesting.
I don't know if I can.
There it is.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, look, he's holding his hands up like he's lost. Okay, that's a different one, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, I think he did in the beginning.
And then go to the second one. Go to the one below it. I think that might be it. Yeah. Is that it? Yeah. So Kamala's like, you know, he's putting his hand on Obama's shoulder, like talking to him, and Obama isn't even turning around. Look at him looking around, so lost.
Dude, and he's claiming the room, dude. Poor Isle. Like
look, he's putting he put his hand on Obama's shoulder and he just almost said, "Get out of here." He's shaking hands and
dude, he's just oh my, it's so
that guy's the president of the United States, dude.
Right.
And he doesn't have the respect of a former
and
president.
What's crazy, I expected this, but the people that are, you know, that are the anti-Trumpers, the Republicans are all evil. They defend this. And that again is to show psychosis, because when you cannot say, like unbiasedly say, okay, yeah, he doesn't look like he's probably all there. When you defend that, or you'll just post a photo of Trump walking, you know, how they posted back in the day, all like the Trump photo, like, oh, he's suffering from whatever, walking down this thing. It's just it's insanity, dude. It's just insanity.
Well, that's what someone said to me when I did my song about Joe Biden, the old folks home song that I did. Somebody, you know, who was left leaning said, you know, it's not funny to poke at somebody who has dementia. And I said, you know what? You're right. If they're like my grandfather, I said, if they're running for the president of the United States of America, and I think they have dementia, you're talking about the most important job title in
Yes.
arguably the world,
Yes.
one of them, as far as
Yes.
official title at least. And I don't think he's there mentally. I'm going to highlight that. The similarly where you highlight Trump for all of his
Right.
imperfections too, and you point a spotlight on it. That
Yeah.
person's in a position of prominence, so they have to put up with that.
Well,
If he
dude,
was my grandfather, I would be bringing him to doctor's visits and finding a home for him.
yes, I wouldn't say pop up. Go. Why don't you go run to be the president? I think that's a great idea. You wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
No, you would love this. But anyway, so I know I'm going to take. Do you have time, like 10 more minutes?
Yeah, go ahead.
So last thing, are you sure? If you can't, you got to go. You can go.
Yeah, no, what I'm doing is I'm pulling up your talking points to make sure we hit on all of them.
Well, so this is the one that we didn't, was the Biden administration giving cell phones to illegal immigrants.
So is this like the Obama phone, except 8 years later?
Well, so that's what, Jen Psaki says is to track and check in with them so you
Bull
can
crap.
see, right. So many are getting sent back, right? You know that. But what I wanted before we the Obama phones that you brought up, like that whole thing. So anybody doesn't know, like if you were low income, I got one when I was a drug addict. Like I had a cell phone, but it was a free cell phone. So you go to where you get your food stamps and you just say, could I have a phone? And you literally, that's it. There is no checking up, and you have service. You can text. It's a smartphone. And these phones were given. Oh, go ahead.
Let me ask you this. So it seems like it's a similar theme to the Obama phone. So when you got your Obama phone, at any point did you get a text from the government saying, "Hey, just checking in, making sure you're not doing drugs"?
Dude, I had a best friend, the social worker. No,
yeah,
no one texted me, dude.
Okay, did it enable whatever you were doing?
Yeah, dude. Now, I mean, people sell them. People go on and on. Anything, whatever you can do with that, it's a cell phone.
So what's their goal for this, and what do you think is going to actually happen?
Well, their goal is supposedly to track and check them, so they'll come when they have their court proceedings. But I think it's enough. So, like the Obama phones, that whole thing, it was actually like Bush's plan. It just changed when Obama came into power, and the reason why they did that was Jeb Bush, the man, the myth, the legend. He's
Jeb.
He's got ties to this Mexican billionaire, millionaire who builds cell phones. So who got the contract to build all of these Obama track phones was Jeb Bush's buddy that's in Mexico. Jeb is I don't know if he's a dual citizen, but his wife is Mexican. And that's why that's how
right.
that got
I forgot
passed.
about that.
Yeah, that's how the Obama phone thing got passed, because he was getting kickbacks from his buddy. That's a billionaire.
Isn't it interesting that he was the government of a state that had a lot of drugs coming in through the southern border?
Another dude. And they're both, there's that whole family. And that's what I feel like this is. Well, it's a way to launder money, to pay people off, because God knows how much you think they charge for one of these government phones, dude. They're not billing like the bulk discount rate. Absolutely not. No.
Yeah. And the other thing, what it's going to do is enable the people that are trafficking drugs across the border to communicate with one another. So I've been watching a lot of these Pablo Escobar documentaries and stuff, and El Chapo. And the one thing I know is that, these people have politicians of the highest level in their hands. So if they need ways to traffic money, like, hey, let's have a government issued phone to illegal immigrants to track them, right? Like the drug traffickers are laughing right now.
Yeah, dude. Oh, that's a perfect. And you're right. Like, dude, they just to say, and if someone said well, the government wouldn't do that they wouldn't, or the cartels won't, dude, like all of these, think of all the banks that the CIA created. Think of all of the laundering money fronts that they created to transport and cash in on their drugs. To think that they're using a cell phone as a way to help either alleviate issues of drug trafficking, or as a way just to launder money, to say we spent $800 per phone when it was really $150 per phone, and they got to, with fudging numbers, they could I put nothing beyond their ability to think of what can we do with laundering taxpayer money to launder our own funds.
It's unreal, man. And like the thing is, like, it's just another example of how, like, if you're not a citizen, there's more advantages, you know. But my whole thing is like, okay, well, if you know that they're in this country illegally, yet you're handing them a phone, why can't we, I don't know,
Right.
send them back? Or I mean, shit, if you really want to monitor them, I mean, you want to put an ankle bracelet on them or something
Right.
like you do to our prisoners, like,
Right.
you know, essentially they are illegal travelers of our country. You know, I will say this, you know, some of them do very, like, really blend in well and have done some amazing work. And
Yes.
honestly, the work ethic of a lot of the guys that I've met
Absolutely.
is unbelievable, and they have an amazing sense of family. So I do
Absolutely.
want to say that doesn't mean that it justifies illegal passage into another country, but you know, the left thinks that 100% of these people are fall under that category. And
Right.
so what we're saying is that no, there's actually a lot of women and children that get abducted or assaulted, you know, during this process. And then a lot of criminals are, you know, coming through the border. Most of the people in Mexico with a steady job are not looking to
That's a
hop the
great point,
border.
dude.
So
It's great. No,
that's all we're saying is we want realistic regulation.
yeah, dude. It's hits like you just it's multiple they do this because it's a one world government they want. They want to change the demographics of America. And it's
Mhm.
not to say, and it's also a great way to help push drugs into the country, crime, all there. It works out every way in their way. Open immigration works for them. They can use that to their benefit in so many different avenues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's an incentive to another incentive to cross the border too. I mean, there's tons of incentives now. And you know, the borders, that's the main issue is how weakened they've become. Honestly, just how weakened they've been. Let's be realistic. Like even under the Trump administration, it was still weak. You know,
Yeah.
it could have been, that was one of the main things that I had is I thought that wall was coming up in like,
Right.
you know, 2 years,
Right.
and, you know, I still don't see it. So,
No.
you know, I'm a little, like I tell people I'm closet Trump, meaning like I don't talk about him, I
Yeah.
don't openly endorse. But you know, if the election were to come around and I had two choices, I would vote,
I
and
agree,
I would
dude.
vote for the man.
I agree, dude.
But that's where I'm at right now, dude. I'm kind of you know, everything is fake and gay, you know, which is why you should
Pull
purchase
it
the
up.
Yep. Space is fake and gay shirt available now for $25 shipped to your house. Jack's got one en route to
Yes.
his house right now.
Limited
Just DM
supply,
me.
everybody.
Limited supply.
Imagine though,
Yeah.
guys, if we all get one and we walk out and you see somebody with that shirt, dude,
Oh
that would be
man.
cool. That
If
would be
you're
cool.
out and you see someone, you just high five that person, you know?
Yes,
It's just
dude,
what
that
a
would be
world.
awesome.
What a
Well,
world.
Bob, so tell everyone where they can find you about and what's going on with your podcast, all those things.
Sure. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Bob's Lessons at BOBSLESSONS. You can find me on the No Mercy podcast with Tommy G, my cousin and co-host of the show. You can also find me at QTN Podcast, Question the Narrative Podcast, available on Spotify, but not on iTunes right now. And we'll hopefully resolve that.
Ugh, dude, it was heartbreaking. But
Bob,
thanks, guys. We had a lot of people, 20 people in the chat. That's a record, Bob. So you brought record numbers as I expected.
All right.
And it was nice. We'll see everybody soon. So take care. I'm Jack Allen. Peace, everybody.